Hi guys, okay, so I'm doing this video from Cyprus. I am out here for a week with my daughters. It's not massively warm here, but it's enough to be sat out in a t-shirt and we're having a nice time. So it's nice to take some time out. But while I'm here, obviously I still do bits and pieces of my work, because my work I guess isn't really work like in the same way, and I still get lots of messages off you guys. And this week I've had a lot of messages of people that are really in pain, people going through some really tough life stuff. And I get these all the time because people follow what I do and they know what my work is. They also appreciate that I've been through some stuff, certainly over the last year, and perhaps want to know how it is that I keep going, that I have a nice life and that I feel happy regardless of that stuff. And I guess the message that I wanted to put in this video may not be the message that you want to hear, but in the long run it's going to serve you better. And so often when I'm getting messages off people, I can, from an outside point of view, I can feel their pain. First of all, I can feel how painful it all is, and this can be anything from, you know, having a tough time at work to a breakup, obviously the big stuff like death and illness and that kind of things, but it can be smaller stuff. You know, pain is pain, and I'm never one for top trumps on who's had the worst things going on, because, you know, you could stub your toe and that could be the most painful thing that's happened to you ever, and you might struggle to get over it, or you could, you know, lose your husband and it be, you know, really big stuff. But pain is pain, and whatever whatever you're experiencing that's hurting you, then, you know, I just don't think there should be some kind of top trumps on sadness. My message is this: life is tough. It's full to the brim of suffering, and it won't stop. There will always be suffering, there will always be pain, and when you deal with one bit of pain, there will be a new bit of pain. And the sooner that you accept that, the happier that you can be. When you have this notion, and certainly when you work in the self-development type world, I guess people think that it's all airy-fairy and happiness. And when I talk about my Happy Me project, which you can grab below, it's my online course and there's workshops that I do. When I talk about that, I think maybe perhaps people think that it's going to be like, we're all going to be super happy all of the time and it's going to be blissful. And that is not what I mean by happiness, because that is completely unobtainable. And all the other emotions that we feel are perfectly valid emotions. And you are going to feel pain and anger and suffering regardless of being happy. I consider myself a happy person, I am. But I feel pain and frustration and anger and sadness and all manner of emotions, sometimes within the hour. And that's okay, because that is not what happiness is about. Happiness is about two things. One, it is about trying to find the joy around the tough stuff. And it's also about looking at your life and looking at what you are willing to, in fact, actually, this was put really, really well in the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. I don't know why I'm censoring myself there. I don't normally, but I did anyway. That's because it does in the book. But anyway, I was reading that, and when I was reading that, I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. And it's lovely when you get a book like that. And he describes it in there as happiness, going from problem to problem, basically trying to work out what you're willing to suffer for, what you want in your life, what are you willing to suffer for, what are you willing to sacrifice to get that. So for example, it might be that you want a cracking body. You're gonna have to suffer to get that, my friends. You have to go down the gym, you're gonna have to eat certain foods, you're gonna have to, you know, work out, you're gonna have to run, whatever you're gonna do to get that cracking body. That's gonna be painful, it's not gonna be fun. You know, maybe you want to have an amazing house, and some other part of your life will have to be sacrificed in order to make the money to afford that amazing house. For every positive thing, there will be a negative thing. You know, when you find the love of your life, there may well be something, sadness alongside that. You know, there will always be those things. In fact, I actually have said both to my daughters and to other people that even though my husband died, and I'm saying that quietly slightly just because the girls are there and sometimes it upsets them if it's before bedtime, even though that happened, I do it again. I do it all again, because the love that we had and the joy and my daughters and everything that we created was worth the suffering, it was worth the pain, and I'd do it again. And that really is what happiness is about. It is, what are you willing to suffer for, and how do you find the joy around the sad stuff, because that stuff is never going to go away. It's not just you. Okay, I know you might be sat there feeling like a victim and feeling that life is just tough and you just have bad luck, but you don't. Everyone does. It's all the same. We're all the same. We all have tough things that happen. We all have challenges, and if you haven't, you're about to. You know, get used to it. There's a quote or a philosophy in probably it's from Buddhism, but basically they just say, you know, from the minute we are born, we are just rotten bits of meat with holes in both ends. And I know that's a miserable thought process for us, but actually there's something really empowering about it as well, because it means you go, do you know what, drop the ego, all of the stuff on the outside, all of the things, all of the stuff that we want and all that stuff, it doesn't really mean anything. We are just bits of meat, and let's just find some happiness in between that. Let's let go of feeling like victims. Let's let go of the notion that there's going to be blissful happiness constantly. All right, I'm not saying there's going to be sadness. That's not what we're talking about either. There's not, you know, continuous sadness, but it's about going, yeah, you know what, there's going to be loads of challenges throughout life. There's going to be tons of it. Accept it. Don't resist it, because it's going to happen. And then go, I'm not a victim. What can I do in between that stuff? How can I make myself feel good? How can I have joy? How can I find the lessons in the hardships? And when you do all of those things, then you can have happiness, and you can have, you know, amazing things. Look at love, for example. You know, love can be a painful thing. Love can, you know, you might have to sacrifice for love. You might have to, you know, we have to take a risk on love. You know, all of those things, and there may be pain, there may be suffering, but isn't it worth the risk to have those moments of joy, those moments of love? And I think that's what life is about. I think it's trying to find those moments. And so when people message me and they tell me their stories, and I listen and I feel their pain, and I feel your pain. So if you have messaged me, I will always do my best to respond. I get a lot of messages, so if I don't respond straight away, I always try to, and if I've missed any, I wholeheartedly apologize, because it's never intentional. But I want you to understand that you have the power within you to change things. And if you keep telling yourself the bullshit story of how hard it is for you and how you're different to everybody else, and you know, it's easier for them, whatever other story you're telling yourself, I promise you, you will sit in that space of suffering. If you accept that it is not just you, that there will be more suffering when you come across, you know, once you pass this challenge, there will be something else, and it's okay, and it's part of life, it's part of the human experience to feel suffering, and you look for the joy around that, and you change that story, then you can be happy. It really is down to the story. If you keep, you know, regurgitating this story of you being the victim, then you will sit in that space of suffering. I honestly don't feel sorry for myself at all. And I've had some tough stuff happen. I've had some really tough, and I continue to have tough stuff happen. But also, there's so much good in my life. There's so much love and good stuff and happiness. I mean, I'm sat here now and I can see a sunset over there, which is one of my favourite things. And if you follow me on Instagram, HollyMatthews84, you will see an abundance of sunset pictures, because it makes me happy. I'm sat here in Cyprus, you know, able to do that, able to chat to you guys, access to the internet, access to people. I've got 2 beautiful daughters who are in there. We've just had some food. You know, what on earth would I have to feel sorry for myself about? You know, regardless of whether my husband died in July last year, that we spent time in a hospice, that we've, you know, I have to deal with my daughter's grief, with my own grief, with other people around me's grief. Regardless of all that stuff's there, but equally there's so much good, and that's what it's about. It's not about top trumps on sadness. We're all gonna get hurt, we're all gonna feel pain, there's gonna be more pain, but there's also gonna be loads of good as well, and your job is to seek that out and find that. Don't feel sorry for yourself, just get on with it. No one's gonna fix it for you, because it doesn't need fixing. Life isn't continuous bliss. You will never get to a point where there is no challenges in your life. You'll never get to that point, so get over yourself, okay? And when you do, when you get over yourself, and you decide that you're going to be happy regardless of the shit stuff that's going on, then you will have an amazing life. And I can't wait to hear from you. I can't wait to hear about all the amazing things that you've done alongside all the shit stuff. Okay? And I love getting your messages. Thank you for all your lovely support as well. And I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and enjoy this lovely sunset and say goodnight to my daughters. I'll speak to you all soon.